My name is Marcia Stromgren, and you've tuned in to Just the Facts. I have in the studio today Becky Hall, who is running for what district is it, Becky?
House District 8B. Thanks for having me.
Okay.
Yes, thanks for having me.
So, Becky, let's talk about where 8B is. Who do you represent?
Okay. Well, I hope to represent pretty much all of Eastern Duluth, and 8B is actually taken in a little bit of the old District 3 as well. So it kind of creeps into like Duluth Heights, and it goes way out to the city limits along the North Shore.
Oh,
yep.
Okay.
So pretty much all of East Duluth from, I want to say,
would it be Lakewood
probably like
Road?
21st and over.
Lakewood Road
East.
probably would
Yep.
be the eastern.
Right.
How far
right.
up would that be? Lakewood Township too?
To not the township, just
Okay.
right where the city limits.
Where the city limits
Yep.
starts there. Yeah, that is a different district.
So pretty much East Duluth.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you are running in House?
Right. I'm running for the legislature,
the
House District. Hall in the House. Once
Hall.
again, this is my third time running for this position, and I'm hoping three's a charm.
That would be great. I would like to see that. So, okay, what made you run?
You know, especially this time around, and my desire to run for this position hasn't changed over the years. The first time I ran was in 2006, and I just look at the city of Duluth, and I think this is a wonderful place to raise a family. It could be a great place to run a business, to live, work, and thrive. We raised our 5 kids here, and just wanted to contribute in a positive way for Duluth. And my background was when I worked for the state of Minnesota, I worked in economic development, and I thought that those skills would be great as a legislator. I also worked at the legislature. I worked for a U.S. Senator years ago, but I think about the time that I worked at the legislature, and even though at that time I lived in the Twin Cities, and that was over 30 years ago that I worked at the legislature, I had a very special connection with Duluth even back then. I worked for Senator Jim Gustafson when he was the Republican senator up here in Duluth on lots of legislative proposals. One he was really very much interested in was local government aid. So we worked on that together at the legislature. So I've always had an interest in that kind of work. And when I moved to Duluth, just wanted to, offer up my experience and just do my part to continue to make this a great place to live, work, and play. And so that's basically why I'm running. More importantly, why I'm running is that I believe Duluthians deserve an alternative choice to what we have today. I think about representation like myself. We haven't had that for decades here in Duluth. Jim Gustafson was the last Republican senator representation that Duluth has seen. And fast forward to today, and look what we have. We've got one party running this community, and we've got, we could be doing so much better with our business climate, our neighborhoods, public safety, things like that. People, I think, are really screaming for representation for somebody who's going to fight to keep our neighborhoods safe, keep our businesses open, support our police officers, support our schools, things like that. So that's why I'm running this time around once again to give Duluthians another option than what we have right now. If you like higher gas prices and skyrocketing inflation and crime in our neighborhoods, then I'm not your legislator. You can continue to vote for that party, and that's what we'll get. So I do believe we need a change, and I'm willing to give it.
Well, I'm glad to see that you're running again, because I think you will once you get into office. Becky, there are ways to get in touch with you, and we'll mention this again at the end, but I want people to hear from the beginning. How can they get in touch with you?
Right. Well, I have a website. It's called hallinthehouse.com. I'm also on Facebook. I have 2 Facebook pages. I have my Becky Hall page, and I also have Becky Hall for Freedom Facebook page. And I think things get limited on my Becky Hall for Freedom page. I don't think things always get posted, so that's why I mentioned both. Becky Hall and Becky Hall for Freedom on Facebook. And I'm also on Instagram, Becky Hall for Freedom there too.
Do you have a web page?
Becky or hallinthehouse.com.
Hallinthehouse.com. Okay.
Yep.
In case it's taken off of the others.
Yes. And I have an email. It's electbeckyhall@gmail.com.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we covered all of that now. Okay. We have a limited amount of time,
Okay.
and you have chosen 4 subjects here. So let's start with economy.
Economy. You know, I think my neighbors in Eastern Duluth it's probably the biggest concern. I mean, think about it. You drive by a gas station and gas prices are through the roof. $5 for, okay, it's come down a little bit, but it's gonna go up again. So we've got high gas prices. We've got inflation through the roof. Empty shelves at the grocery store. Bread and butter issues like that I don't see this Democrat Party addressing. As a matter of fact, I see that leadership making it worse. So again, I think it's time for a change in Duluth. I think we need a legislator like myself that would support energy policy. I truly believe in mining here in Minnesota and keeping pipelines open to get the fuel to where we need it in our cars. My opponent, it's not so much that it's the Democrat Party anymore here in Duluth. When I listen to my opponent, she's more of the radical left of the party, which is sad. I think her values have moved so far away from what the Democrat Party stands for. She's all about shutting down mines, closing the pipelines, and we need that energy. And we do it clean here in Minnesota. If we don't do it here, we're depending on countries like China that are bigger polluters to get our resources. We've been mining I'm very passionate about the mining and the, Enbridge, the pipelines and that, for our energy usage. And as a legislature, I think it's interesting that, again, my opponent she's all about, environmental regulations, like crack down on all these things to the point where we can't even mine or drill anymore. And if you're concerned, as I am, about our environment and keeping it clean, which everybody is, and we do a good job of it, we really do. We've got good regulations that keep our environment clean. If you're all about that, why are we not talking about nuclear energy? That is such a clean and efficient form of energy that's great for the environment. There's some great technology coming out now. So as a legislator, I would love to have a position in the areas of natural resources and mining and energy and support policies like that. I think it's good for the environment and it keeps energy prices down. So that's a huge priority when we're talking about the economy.
Public safety.
Public safety, as we have seen over the last several years with this defund the police and the lack of respect and the lack of support for our police, I think we need a legislator who will vehemently support our police. Where they're understaffed, I think they're underpaid, and they deserve the support of us. They're the ones who keep our neighborhoods safe, and I would be a legislator who vehemently supports our police instead of reimagining them. I think we've done a lot of harm in this state, defunding our police, watching police precincts just burn to the ground, and look at the outrageous increases in crime now. So I think it's really important as a legislator down in St. Paul to do everything possible to support our police, to keep our neighborhoods safe. Education. I think we throw a lot of money at education. I think there's a lot of work to be done. I think one thing that was very concerning to me in these last couple of years is keeping our kids out of school. I think we've caused a greater mental health crisis for our children as a result of that. And so I would be a legislator that does not support locking down schools and keeping kids out. The science shows that they weren't the ones that were that we had to worry about when it came to COVID. But we've really harmed their educational experience as a result. So, and then safety. Speaking of public safety and education too, is keeping our kids safe in school too. I think we should have resource officers, police resource officers in our schools, just keeping those schools safe. So.
One time we never had to have resource officers
I know.
in our schools.
Isn't it sad?
Well, yeah, and I think there's a lot that goes along with that. First of all, parents don't have the right to reprimand their kids. I mean, the kid can say, well, you don't treat me right, I'll go report you to the police. So we get that part of it. We have teachers that can't discipline in the schools. So we have that problem. So having a police station in the schools, and I'll give you an example of a woman who was a paralegal out at para something or other, not illegal, para out in East High School. She hired on because she needed an extra job. Kids threatened her life, so she quit. Now they have a police station out there, but what good is a police station if there's no enforcement against the crime of what these kids have been allowed to get away with, because there is no control over these kids. They have a right to do this, they have a right to do that. We need to go back to a time when the teacher had a right to take away the gum out of their mouth. I was just talking about this earlier.
Yeah.
There are teachers that would stand on the stairway during break time between classes, and if they saw you coming with gum, they'd hold out the can and you had to spit it out. Well, there's nothing to stop a kid from acting out the way he feels like it, because parents and authority have lost the right to control. And that is something that's really causing the problems in the schools.
Yeah, and we've emboldened that attitude by not supporting law enforcement or public safety and all that. We've sent the message by saying defund the police. The police are the problem. That people. I mean, that's why we have crime now. The attitude is, well, I can do what I want, and we need to have leaders that aren't spewing that. Let's reimagine the police. Let's
reimagine our society and whole.
Yeah, let's respect law enforcement, and let's bring respect back into the equation.
Teachers. Respect teachers. Respect parents.
That's right.
Go back.
Yeah.
Respect
each other.
Yeah.
I agree.
So, in education, what has happened to these kids? They get a diploma to get out of school, and in the Duluth School District, as it was just brought to my attention by Art, who was on the school board for many years, we are doing a poor job of people of color, and now because he keeps an eye on things, even the white students are not doing very well academically overall statewide.
Yeah.
This is a crime against everybody.
Yeah.
Business owners cannot hire. They can't find responsible applicants in the first place, but they have a hard time hiring because these kids have not been equipped.
Right.
They are failing, but they get a piece of paper that says they graduated.
Right. And
what could a person like yourself, once you're elected, this is a big problem. It's not something that's going to be solved quickly.
No.
What are some suggestions that you might have to address the problem?
Well, and it certainly didn't help to lock the schools down again and keep kids out for 2 years. That has so set our kids back. And so we have to make sure that doesn't happen again. And we also, we need to get back to the basics. When we send money to the schools, that money should go to making sure that these kids are proficient in reading, math, writing, language, science, and really just put a lot of focus on that. I've read that a lot of our state funding, it goes for administrative costs.
Yes.
So I would like, if there's, now Art Johnson is really up on top of this, being a school board member. I always thought can we have an audit on just exactly how, that money is spent on our kids? Because having a bunch of administrators doesn't help teach my kid in the classroom. I want science materials. I want teaching time for math and reading and all that in the classroom. So I think our Department of Education needs to focus on things like that. I also think that when you're in high school, there should be an opportunity to have classes in practical skills. I remember a day when we had the industrial arts and classes like that taught kids practical skills as they graduate from high school, and encourage kids that you don't necessarily have to go to a 4-year college and get that kind of degree. There's plenty of opportunities in our tech schools, in our vocational schools to develop a skill that will take real good care of you into the future. I think about mining as an example, great paying jobs with technical skills. So I think we need to encourage our kids in the schools to consider those options as well. And I don't think we spend a lot of time talking about the tech schools and the vocational. Everyone thinks they need to go to a 4-year college. I hate to say it, I'm guilty of that. My 5 kids went to a 4-year college, and I can't help but think that was a lot of money. And, you could go to a community college or a tech school at a lot less of an expense and get some amazing skills and get on with your life. So,
well, I talked to a young man who encouraged his brother not to do that 4-year degree because he and his wife were paying off their loans in order for them to then buy a house. And they both worked hard, several jobs just to pay it off, so then they could purchase a house. So you're sending this well-educated person out there with an indebtedness that will follow them all their life unless they can get good jobs to pay it off.
That's right.
Or have parents that can afford it.
Yeah.
So lockdowns and mandates.
Well, I just think that our leadership at the state capitol and locally could have done a better job with the COVID crisis than to just the quick decision was to lock everything down. I think we're realizing now that was, we've never done that in this country, where we basically shut down our economy. And now look at the repercussions as a result. Small businesses, they shuttered their doors as a result. We cannot have leaders that are going to, when the next flu season comes around, say we're locking down again. So I'm a little bit fearful that that's the kind of leadership we have right now. They think the lockdowns and the mandates were good, were effective, and I'm seeing a lot of harm that's been done as a result. So I would oppose lockdowns and mandates moving forward. I think the science shows that we can manage a crisis like this without shutting down our economy.
What do you think of cities mandating a wage that these small businesses can hardly afford to pay? So then they have to cut their staff, so then they have to cut their hours that they can serve. And I'll give a prime example. My favorite restaurant, which is out in the western section of the city, they only go until 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So you can't go and sit down and have an evening meal anymore.
Right.
You have to eat there by 3 o'clock. And then they don't serve soup anymore, which is, a lot of times that's all I need. I don't need a big meal.
Right.
Or they don't have this on their menu or that on their menu because they're going to be shutting down at 3 o'clock. They can't use some of that food for an evening meal. I'm sure there are many other restaurants that are experiencing that same thing.
Everywhere.
They're mandated that they have to $15 an hour. And that isn't even keeping up with the way our economy has gone within the last 2 years. $15 an hour is pittance.
Right.
When I remember everything else has gone up.
What was it? 2 years ago when I ran for city council, we were talking about mandating a $15 an hour minimum wage. Well, right now you drive by McDonald's, they're offering $17 an hour. My point is, cities should not be in the business of running businesses in their communities. The businesses run the communities. And look at, they talked about a $15 minimum wage 2 years ago. Businesses just naturally will increase their wage offerings to get people to work for them. The other side of the coin is this labor shortage. People just aren't, nobody's going back to work. Are the benefits so good that you'll just stay home and not work instead of going and getting a job at one of these restaurants or, so I think there's two things going on. Number one, leave it up to the businesses to run their businesses and offer up their wages and benefits and all that. And secondly, let's take a look at why people aren't going back to work. Is it that it's the benefits are too good being offered by the state that you'll stay home and not take that job? I don't think that helps our community by keeping people from working. I think it's better for human beings and our community that we have self-sustaining employment to take care of our families.
Well, in the city of Duluth, we recently had the mayor okay panhandling. Mm-hmm. This isn't something that has ever been, and I've lived here all my life. I live in the country, but I still have to be in the city. Two instances will relate is a young man sitting by Starbucks coffee on Superior Street, and I'm going into the new bank that we have started to go to. He's sitting there every day. He's got the nicest warm clothes on and, warm hat, mitts, everything else. And he's sitting there on iPad or whatever. And he had a bag there in it, thank you, God bless you. Mm-hmm. Finally, I said to him one day, I said, how about getting a job? You can go anywhere. Anywhere you look, they're hiring. I have social dysphoria. And I thought, well, that's a new one. I've never heard of social dysphoria. Maybe any of you haven't either. But
I haven't either.
So the last time I saw him, well, of course, it's summertime now, and this was just a few weeks ago. He's sitting there again. And I said, you know what? I work for a living. I'm not about to contribute to somebody who's not. Get a job. Well, this social dysphoria, I noticed everybody that would go by, he would say hello, have a good day, or whatever. Mm. So what does it mean to have social dysphoria? Another guy, he was out at Ace Hardware, and he's on private property. I told them inside, there was a panhandler outside. What did he say to me when I told him to get a job? My psychiatrist won't let me. Mm. How many of these panhandlers are perfectly capable of communicating with people to get a free handout? I don't know that there's any government subsidies all the time that you can get on when you're perfectly capable of working. Yeah. I must be missing something in this dialogue.
It would be nice if we had leaders that encourage people to, develop their skills, to, help them with their housing. And we do have that. When I hear that an ordinance is going to be passed, that there's going to be panhandling, or you get to sleep in your car, I'm thinking, does that really help? Does that really help them? Is that really what you want for that person, is to stand on a corner and ask for money? As leaders, we should be doing so much more to encourage them to have more productive lives, more positive lives. Help them. There's plenty of services that can help them get off the corner and support themselves. Offering up panhandling, again, you're just condoning a behavior that's not healthy for anyone. And when you mention the businesses, I think about, some of the businesses along Superior Street, and they're like, we can't keep our doors open because there's a lack of public safety. There's no police that'll help clear it, and it's difficult. And I just think we could be doing a much better job helping those who need the help, instead of just saying, stand on a corner and beg. That's not the way you support your community.
You're encouraging them to be lazy. Also, what is the crime rate in Duluth since all this panhandling started? I know somebody personally told about it at a meeting and said that her sister was broad daylight right by the public library.
Oh my goodness. Well, even
attacked and, of course, tried to steal her purse and hurt her. So
Well, and
this is a crime issue here.
oh, definitely. I think crime is. I think all our bread and butter issue, cost issues, is a huge issue for folks in the the neighborhoods where I live, and public safety. I think public safety number one. I don't know. I tend to hear a lot more sirens in Duluth, it seems, and I know a lot of them are ambulances, and I always say a prayer when an ambulance drives by. A prayer for the police as well. But in my neighborhood, I'm on this Nextdoor app, and there's constant conversations about home break-ins and car prowls and things like that. So again, we need to be supporting our police to keep our neighborhoods safe. I'll be that kind of legislator who will do that.
So tell us again real quickly how they can get in touch with you.
Well, I would be honored to have anyone get in touch with me and support me in this race. I can be reached at my email, electbeckyhall@gmail.com, or on Facebook, Becky Hall, on Facebook, Becky Hall for Freedom. And my website is hallinthehouse.com.
And now once the production is done, it'll be up on the YouTube channel.
Okay,
Marcia
good.
Stromgren, it'll be up there as well.
Yeah.
And so I really appreciate you coming in. When do people have to vote?
November 8th.
November 8th. So folks, now
Tuesday, November 8th.
it's in your hands. You've heard the candidate who would represent you when elected. And so now it's your responsibility to get out and vote on November 8th. If you want freedom, you have to do something. Go out and vote November 8th. Thanks so much, Becky,
Oh, thank
for
you
coming
so
in.
much, Marcy, for having me.
I have so many things to say about what you had to say.